This is the story of how Netflix's most watched original title in history drew from centuries-old Korean shamanism to create something entirely new. K-pop Demon Hunters reached over 500 million views and became the first movie or show to hit 300 million views on Netflix, but it's not just an animated film about demon-fighting pop stars. Director Maggie Kang built her love letter to Korean culture on a foundation of authentic mythology that most Western audiences have never encountered. What you're about to hear is the real Korean folklore and spiritual traditions that make this film more than entertainment. Understanding K-pop Demon Hunters means understanding the mudang first. Traditional Korean priestesses and shamans, almost always female. These women serve as mediators between the human and supernatural worlds, and they're not just historical figures. As of 2025, between 300,000 and 800,000 mudang still practice in South Korea. History marginalized these women despite their spiritual power, but the role of mudang offered something rare in Korea's patriarchal society, a space where women could wield power, perform, and heal. They performed rituals to appease spirits, divine fortunes, and heal illnesses, while dressed in vibrantly coloured flowing hanbok and wide-brimmed gat hats, carrying swords and other ritual implements. What's fascinating is that mudang traditionally wore male clothing during their performances. Becoming a shaman happened through family lineage or through sinbyong, a spiritual illness that marked you as chosen for this path. Director Maggie Kang explicitly connected the Huntrix trio in her film to these shamanic traditions, calling the mudang the first performers in ancient Korea. And that's not an exaggeration. The gut rituals they performed were public musical spectacles that entire villages witnessed. Maggie Kang called gut rituals the first concerts in ancient Korea, which is the key to understanding the entire film's concept. Gut are Korean shamanistic rituals mediating between human and spirit worlds, designed to drive away evil spirits, bring good fortune, resolve misfortune, heal illnesses, and guide souls of the deceased to the afterlife. But unlike the quiet, somber spiritual ceremonies you might imagine, gut are elaborate performances involving vibrantly coloured costumes, rhythmic music centred on the jangu drum, choreographed dance, chanting and singing, and sometimes spirit possession or trance states. The music serves multiple purposes, calling on gods to possess the mudang, accompanying the god during possession, and sending and placating the god at the ritual's end. These ceremonies still happen today, with Durin gut healing ceremonies held in Jeju Island for mental illnesses. The connection in K-pop Demon Hunters is direct. Huntrix performances aren't just concerts, but modern reinterpretations of gut ceremonies. And just as mudang use song and dance to interact with the spirit world, Huntrix uses music to maintain the Honmoon barrier between worlds. The film takes one liberty here. Traditional gut actually creates bridges between earthly and spiritual realms, while the movie depicts barrier creation instead. Honmoon, written with the Hanja characters for spirit and gate, becomes the protective force keeping demons at bay. The generational aspect matters too. Trios of hunters appear throughout history in the film, mirroring how mudang knowledge passes through generations, either through family lines or spiritual calling. Each member of Huntrix wields a weapon rooted in actual Korean spiritual tradition, not fantasy inventions, but real ceremonial tools that mudang have used for centuries. Rumi's sword is the Sanjeom, translating to Four Tigers Evil Slayer, or Quadruple Tigers Evil Slayer, an actual ceremonial sword used in traditional Korean rituals. The real Sanjeom is engraved with East Asian constellations and mystical tiger imagery, along with Taoist and shamanic inscriptions. The four tigers represent the four cardinal directions in Korean cosmology, each guarded by its mythical tiger, and these swords ward off malevolent spirits, purify sacred spaces, and perform exorcisms. According to law, they can only be forged once every 60 years when the year, month, day, and hour align in perfect harmony. It's considered the most powerful of all Korean spiritual weapons. Mira's weapon, the gokdo, is a curved blade with a spiral edge inspired by the Cheolyeomchu, a curved polearm from the Goguryeo kingdom that existed from 37 BC to 668 AD. The creators initially mistook it for a Chinese guandao during research, but discovered its distinctly Korean identity from this early kingdom period. The moon curve of the blade evokes feminine energy, intuition, and cyclical power. Zoe's weapon is the shinkal, sometimes called daishinkal, translating to spirit knife or blade wielded in divine authority. Shamans actually use this traditional ritual implement during gut ceremonies to fight off evil spirits while dancing, to perform exorcisms, conduct ritualistic cutting, and even fortune-telling. It's considered the most versatile mudang weapon, and the symbolism of giving the youngest member the smallest weapon plays with expectations, daring viewers to underestimate her. Practitioners believe the shinkal can cut away invisible forces of misfortune and malevolent energy. Princess Bari, the first shaman. The tale of Princess Bari, also known as Baridegi or Barigongju, is considered by some to be the story of the first shaman in Korean mythology, and this story directly shaped Rumi's character. Traditionally recited during gut rituals for the dead, particularly during ceremonies called Jino-gut, Sea-gut, Ogu-gud, and Mangi-gut. There are many regional variations, but the core story goes like this. A king and queen in the ancient kingdom of Bul-la consulted a foreseer who warned them to wait 1 year before having children, or they would have 7 daughters. They didn't heed the warning, had 6 daughters and loved them all. Then came the 7th daughter. The king ordered the queen to dispose of the infant, which is why she's called Baridagi, meaning the one who was thrown away. Princess Bari was raised by divine intervention, aided by countless deities. Years later, both the king and queen became deathly ill, and the only cure was an elixir from the underworld. The 6 older sisters all refused to make the journey, but Bari accepted the duty. She travelled to the world of the dead, where the gatekeeper required payment. 9 years of work, plus 7 years bearing his 7 sons before he would give her the elixir. Bari fulfilled these requirements and returned with her husband and 7 sons, but her parents had already died. Using the elixir, Bari revived her parents. The king offered her half the kingdom, which she refused, choosing instead to return to the underworld to care for dead souls. She transformed into a deity, becoming the patron goddess of shamans, while her husband became a jangsong, those traditional wooden guardian posts you see in Korea. In Seoul's shamanic tradition, Princess Bari is worshipped as the ancestral shaman and patron goddess, mainly by female shamans. While she embodies the Confucian virtue of filial piety, her story has become a modern symbol against gender inequality, representing female empowerment and choosing one's own destiny. The creators of K-pop Demon Hunters confirmed that Princess Bari helped conceptualize Rumi's character. Like Bari, Rumi has parent issues and is the first half-demon demon hunter, just as Bari was the first to return from the underworld. Rumi's demon patterns represent internal shame about who she is, similar to Bari's abandonment and rejection, and both carry the heavy responsibility of saving others, even a world that doesn't fully accept them. Rumi completing her mother's mission parallels Bari's journey to save her parents. Majority of demons in K-pop Demon Hunters are based on Dokkaebi, Korean goblins or nature spirits, but understanding what Dokkaebi actually are reveals another layer of Korean mythology. Dokkaebi are not spirits of dead humans, but born from inanimate objects that have been imbued with spiritual energy. Old discarded household tools, brooms, worn farming equipment, objects stained with human blood, or items with strong emotional imprinting can transform after decades of use and emotional accumulation, spontaneously becoming Dokkaebi. They appear in various forms, often ugly with red faces, sometimes with horns, with 1 or 2 legs, and they can wear hanbok. Their nature isn't inherently evil, but mischievous and trickster-like, helping or tricking humans depending on their mood. Their abilities are extensive, shape-shifting into humans or animals, controlling what's called Dokkaebi fire, that appears as glimmering light or tall blue flames, creating illusions and loving wrestling, particularly the Korean style called Sirium. They're quite skilled at wrestling, though vulnerable on their right side or that single leg, and they can grant good fortune, big harvests, and large catches. They possess magical items too. The Dokkaebi Gamtu is a hat granting invisibility, while the Dokkaebi Bangmangi is a magic club or wand that can summon things, though it cannot create life. Culturally, Dokkaebis serve as defenders against evil spirits, both celebrated and feared. They have weaknesses. They despise horse blood and can be outsmarted in games. The first documentation of Dokkaebi appears in a Silla-era tale called Lady Dohwa and Bachelor Bihyong, from the memorabilia of the Three Kingdoms, written during the Goryeo period. The film also references Jeoseong Saja, the messenger of the afterlife, Korea's equivalent of the Grim Reaper. These spiritual figures guide souls of the deceased to the afterlife and wear traditional gat hats and hanbok. Director Maggie Kang said, "They terrorized me as a kid," and the Saja boys in the film are named after this concept. They're demons disguised as a boy band, and the name layers multiple meanings. Shuzi, meaning lion, which appears in the group's logo and fandom name. Shuje, meaning messenger, as in messenger of the afterlife, and Sija, meaning dead person, since all members are spirits. The creation of something unprecedented. Maggie Kang, a Korean-Canadian born in Korea who grew up in Canada and attended Sheridan College for classical animation, first pitched this concept in 2018 to producer Aaron Warner while he was working on Wish Dragon. The film was officially announced in March 2021. Netflix confirmed its release in February 2023 as part of a partnership agreement giving Netflix first look at certain Sony projects. Kang wanted to create a film that was, in her words, as Korean as possible, delving into mythology and demonology for something that could be visually unique compared to mainstream media. She was influenced by the films of Bong Joon-ho, which combine multiple tones seamlessly. She also wanted to differentiate her characters from what she called Marvel female superheroes that were just sexy and cool and badass, wanting girls who had pot bellies and burped and were crass and silly and fun, combining those superhero elements with real personality. The visual style drew from concert lighting, editorial photography, music videos, anime, and Korean dramas. The film even incorporated traditional elements like norigai, those ornamental decorations on women's hanbok, appearing as costume elements, props like the light stick and weapon accessories. The tiger and magpie duo in the film is inspired by minhwa, Korean folk art from the Chosun era. Netflix paid Sony $125 million, covering the budget plus a 25% premium, and the film released on June 20th, 2025. The unprecedented success. What happened next broke every record Netflix had. KPop Demon Hunters became the most watched original title in Netflix history, with over 500 million views as of late 2025. The first movie or show to reach 300 million views on the platform. Within its first 91 days, it reached 325.1 million views, crushing the previous record held by Red Notice, which had 230.9 million views in the same time frame. The film spent 15 consecutive weeks on Netflix's top 10, the longest-running title ever on the English-language films chart, holding the #1 position for 8 weeks and #2 for 7 weeks. It never dropped below #3, and by late 2025, it had spent 27 weeks in the global top 10. Even in its 15th week, it was still pulling 19.3 million views. Critics loved it too, scoring 95% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and 99% from audiences. It won Best Animated Feature at the 31st Critics' Choice Awards and Best Original Song for Golden, which also won Best OST at both the 2025 Melon Music Awards and the 2025 Mama Awards. The film received 3 Golden Globe nominations: Best Animated Motion Picture, Best Original Song for Golden, and Cinematic and Box Office Achievement. Golden was shortlisted for the 98th Academy Awards for Best Original Song. The film earned 10 Annie Award nominations, including Best Feature, and the soundtrack received 5 Grammy nominations. The soundtrack itself made history as the first film soundtrack on the Billboard Hot 100 to have 4 songs in the top 10 simultaneously. It was certified double platinum by the RAI in October 2025 and topped charts in 41 countries within days of release, ranking #1 on Netflix Korea. Netflix even gave the film a limited theatrical release for a sing-along version on August 23 to 24, 2025, and again October 31st through November 2025. It became the first Netflix film to top the US box office and had the widest theatrical release by number of theatres for any Netflix film, with more than 300 sold-out screenings across the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand and the UK, grossing $24.6 million worldwide from just those limited showings. Time magazine named it the 2025 Breakthrough of the Year. Why it matters. What Maggie Kang accomplished goes beyond box office numbers and streaming records. She took spiritual traditions that have existed for thousands of years, traditions practiced by hundreds of thousands of people in Korea today, and made them accessible to a global audience without diluting their cultural specificity. The mudang are still performing gut ceremonies. The weapons in the film are still used in actual rituals. The story of Princess Bari is still recited during shamanic rites for the dead, and Dokkaebi still populate Korean folklore and imagination. These aren't museum pieces, but living traditions. By framing shamanic ritual as the precursor to modern K-pop concerts, Kang created a through line from ancient spiritual practice to contemporary global phenomenon, showing that gut ceremonies were always performances, always spectacles, always about the transformative power of music and movement to affect the spiritual realm. The film's success proves something. Audiences worldwide are hungry for stories rooted in authentic cultural traditions they haven't seen before. They don't need those traditions explained away or westernized, but just presented with confidence and artistry. K-pop Demon Hunters took Korean shamanism, Korean mythology, Korean spiritual weapons, Korean demons, and Korean values, wrapped them in gorgeous animation and incredible music, and trusted that the specificity would be the appeal, not the obstacle. With over 500 million views and counting, that trust was vindicated. The mythology behind K-pop Demon Hunters isn't just background research, but the beating heart of why the film resonated so deeply with so many people across the world.